Hi there, you're welcome to Perfect Glamour Fashion. In today's tutorial, we're going to be learning how to make this overbust corset using jean material. Stay tuned. You're welcome once again. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you very much for tuning in once again. If you're new to this channel, do not forget to subscribe and put on your notification bell to be notified whenever we post sewing tutorials. So for this corset, we're going to be starting off with our basic bodice block. First of all, we are ruling our vertical measurements, our horizontal measurements, right? My nipple point, underbust, half length, and the length of the corset, that's top length. Okay, for me, I'm using 22 because I like my corset to be a little longer, but 21 is more preferable for most persons. Okay, so when I've done that, the next thing I'm going to do is to divide. I'm going to be labeling my lines. This is my nipple point, this underbust, this half length, and this is corset length. So for the shoulder, I divided my shoulder measurement by 2, came down by 1 inch, and then I'm using 3 inches for my neck depth and neck width. Now, we're not really going to be using this part. This is just to serve as a guideline. Okay, so rule a connecting line to form the shoulder slope, and then come down by your armhole depth, which is your bust divided by 6 plus 2. Okay, so I'm going to rule down that line, and then in order to complete the armhole, I'm going to divide my bust by 4 and mark, and then I will connect to form an angle, and then on that line I'm going to divide it by 2 as I'm doing a mark, and then I'll come in by ½ inch. So this is what we usually do for basic bodice. In case you don't really know how to draw an accurate basic bodice block, we have a detailed tutorial on this channel, and I will link it in the description. It's a detailed tutorial and to guide you on how to make your own basic bodice block. All right, so we're going to be rolling our nipple to nipple divided by 2. Mine is 8, so dividing it by 2 is going to give me 4, and I've marked my 4, and I'm ruling a straight line. This is going to guide us for ruling our dart. Now, in order to know what I will use for my dart legs, I'm going to minus whatever I have in between my nipple point and my underbust. I'm going to divide it by 2, and then I'm going to take ½ inch on the center front, and then the rest of the measurements at the other side. I hope you are following. Okay, ½ inch at the center front, then whatever I have left from my nipple to underbust difference, I will now mark it on the other side. Okay, so, and I'll come down by ½ inch, and I'll use my curved ruler to create my curve down there. So I will create my curve in between my nipple point and my underbust using a curved ruler. Now that we're done with that, we're going to go to the shoulder and divide whatever we have there by 2. When we divide what we have there by 2, we're going to rule a connecting line. It's going to be like a slanted line to the nipple point. Now this is where we'll do our over the bust tightening. Okay, so in order to do that, I'm going to determine how deep I want my curve to go. Okay, so I usually use 7 or 6 because I love the coverage it gives me, right? So then for the center front, I'm going to use either 7.5 or 8 just to get that coverage. I don't really like exposing my boobs, so if you want it to be lower than that, you can go ahead. Then on both sides, I'm going to mark 1 inch and connect with a curved rule. So this is going to form the neckline. Okay, so that's the neckline we're actually going to use, except if you want to do something like a yoke, then you can now use the upper part as your yoke. But I'm not going to be doing a yoke for this particular corset, so I'm going to be discarding the upper part and I'm going to be using the lower part. I hope you get that. So we're now going to connect using our curved ruler to form the full cup. I hope you can see how beautiful it's already coming out. So we're forming our full cup, but I will go up by ½ inch. This is to make sure there is no shortage when I'll be doing my joining. I hope you get that. Okay, so I'm going to connect that 1/2 inch back to the center front. So with this done, I already have this is how to do your bustier normally. Okay, this is my bustier pattern. In case you don't know how to do a bustier pattern, this is what you need. This is your bustier pattern. All right, so moving on, I'm going to be inputting my waist measurement, my underbust divided by 4 plus the the darts allowance. So you can see that darts at the end of the day I used 2 inches for my darts. So when you put in your horizontal measurements, you add the darts. I don't know if you're following. So this is my hip divided by 4 plus the darts, whatever I removed for the darts, and then I'm going to connect. Okay, next, I'm going to be doing the waist tightening. Okay, for the waist tightening, I'm just using 1/2 inch. I'm taking a 1/2 inch from my waist measurement and I will connect it all the way up. Now, before I do the connection, I also want to take out some inches just to ensure that I tighten my bust very well. Okay, so I'm just taking out 0.25 from my bust region just to ensure that I tighten my bust very well also. So I've done the tightening, and then this is pattern 1, this is center front, and by the side front is pattern 2. Okay, now according to the diagram that I have, I want to just do a pleated design in front. In order to do that pleated design, I'm just going to be ruling a straight line from the tip of the over bust for center front now to the under bust. Just really a slanted line. That's if you want to go ahead and do the design. Okay, if you don't want to do it, just go ahead and sew your patterns and we are good. But I just wanted to add a little bit of style to my over bust corsets. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to be doing is to go up by 1.5 inch. That's what I want to curve with. I'm curving with 1.5 inch. You can do it with 1 inch, you can do it with 2 inches, depending on how curvy you want the side to be. And then I'm going to be rolling it with the curved ruler. Now let me take a moment and appreciate my dear subscribers. If you are a returning subscriber, I really want to thank you for your encouragement. Thank you for always engaging with my content. If you're new to this channel, listen, this is the place to be. We post sewing tutorial every week to make sure that you have all it takes to become a professional fashion designer. Okay, so do well to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so that you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. Now for the back, we are just going to continue our start line. I'm just going to extend all the lines that we used for the front, the nipple points, the underbust, the half length, and then the corset length. So next I'm going to rule a straight line to mark the beginning, the start for the back. So I'm going to be ruling my start line for the back. Now I'm going to rule a straight line. This is going to be my start line for the back. Okay, so on this part, remember this is a corset, so there will be no zip allowance. Okay, so remember for our armhole depth, we have our bust divided by 6 plus 1.5 or 2 inches, depending on how big you are. All right, and then you divide your bust by 4, and then that's going to help you to mark your angle. Okay, now for the armhole depth, you're going to also divide it by 2, just the way we did for the front, and come in by 1/2 inch to form your armhole curve. Now that we're done, when we're done doing that, next thing we're going to be doing is to go ahead and measure and impute our waist measurement. That's our waist divided by 4. Now we're not adding any sewing allowance, we're not even using that for the back. Okay, so we're going to do your hip divided by 4 and also mark, then you connect it to your bust. And now in the hip region, you're going to go up by 1.5 inch or 2 inches, depending on what you curved your front pattern with. Okay, so if you use 2 inches for your front, use the same for the back. If you use 1 inch, use the same for the back. And in order to ensure that there is no gaping in the upper region of my corset, I'm going to come in by 1 inch and connect. So the back, I'm going to make sure it becomes short by 1 inch. Okay, now for the slope for the back, I am coming down by 9 inches and I'll connect it to this my new armhole now. Okay, just watch carefully what I'm doing. And in order to create the space where I will lace, okay, I don't want the lacing to meet each other. I want there to be space. So I spaced it out by 1.5 inch and then I connected it. So this is where my eyelet is going to be placed. I hope that is clear. Okay, if you have any question, go ahead and ask in the comment section. So this is what we have now. We are done. This is our pattern 1, pattern 2, and this is the back pattern. That's pattern 3. Okay, I hope we're following. All right, now over to the front. Remember we cut out a slanted design. Okay, like I said, I want it to be pleated in front, just a little sweetheart-like design in front. Okay, so I'm going to cut out the pattern, leaving 1/2 inch sewing allowance. I'm cutting out the pattern, leaving 1/2 inch sewing allowance. Okay, so I'm going to be cutting this on paper. I'm going to cut all my patterns on paper. I'm going to cut all my patterns on paper, and I'm going to cut with 1/2 inch sewing allowance and then 1 inch for the down parts. Okay, I hope you're following. Just look very carefully. 1/2 inch sewing allowance round all my patterns. That's what I'm using. I'm using 1/2 inch sewing allowance round all my patterns. And then for that pleated part, I'm using 25 inch length and 10 inches width. But then when you are done, you might want to open up your V pattern and make sure that that the space that you left is going to be enough to accommodate the pattern. Now I'm going to pleat and I'm going to sew. So I pleated and then I sewed a straight line by the side. I don't know if you observed that I sewed a straight line by the side. Next thing I did was to sew on that 1/2 inch sewing allowance. It's going to form like a V. Okay, I sewed on the 1/2 inch sewing allowance. I hope we're following. Next thing I'm going to do is that I just had this zip that I'd used before. I like the whole shining effect that the teeth has, so I just wanted to incorporate it in my design. This is so unnecessary. I just wanted to add it. Okay, so when I'm done joining these 2 pieces together, I now have to add the zip. You know the way you add your zip normally. Okay, that's how I'm going to add the zip. Okay, I'm going to place it on the right side of the zip of the material, that's the front panel, and then I'm going to flip and sew. So just watch very carefully. You're going to observe what I did. Just follow it exactly the way I did it, and you're going to get a very clean result. Okay, so flip and then sew. Okay, so I'm using a pin to hold it so that it doesn't shift in the machine when I'm sewing it. And then I'm going to sew. Now when I flip and sew, you're going to see it's going to relax on the, what is it called, on the front, on that pleated panel. Okay, so I'm going to sew very close to the zip so that the black part will not be showing. Are you seeing how neatly done it is? So if you can just follow exactly what I did, you're going to get exactly how I got it. And mind you mustn't add this detail. Okay, this is just me doing too much. Okay, so I cut linings for each of the panels, for each of the 3 panels, and then I'm going to be joining the sides to the center. Also, I'm going to be joining the back to the side of the front. Okay, this is going to give me a complete panel. I am also going to do the same for the lining. Okay, this is when I'm done, when I have joined the pieces. Okay, now I'm going to be using my Ridgeline boning. Now observe that I sewed this Ridgeline boning facing upwards. Okay, the curved part is facing upwards, and then do well to sew close to the line that you have already used for your joining. Okay, I'm going to be adding an extra boning line by the sides in order to give it structure. Okay, I don't want the sides to be folding in, so I'm going to be adding sew line so that it can give it structure. I'm going to be adding boning to the sides so that it can give it structure. Okay, this is me ensuring that the the placement of the boning by each side is the same with the other side. So do well to use your tape to measure and make sure that your line is drawn accurately. Now that I'm done with that, because I didn't add that for the back, I'm going to rule a straight line. So that straight line is when I'm going to add the boning channel for the back. Okay, I'm not actually using boning channels, I'm using regeling bone, so I'll just sew it directly on these lines that I'm ruling. Okay, now just follow me, do exactly what I'm doing, and you will get the result that you desire. Okay, all right, so I'm going to go ahead and sew on all the lines, and I'm going to trim. So I'm done sewing on all the lines, and then I am trimming. I didn't want to give you the sweetheart neckline that I cut out initially, but you can go ahead and form your sweetheart neckline. It's not a problem at all. So I'm attaching the lining to the fabric. Now I'm going to start off by sewing the upper part. Okay, when I'm done sewing the upper part, I'm going to top stitch. Now I've top stitched, I've joined it to the upper part and I've top stitched. Then I'm going to also sew the down parts. Now that I'm done sewing the down part, I left a little space by the side, okay, so that I can turn it over. And then this is optional, this is totally optional. You can add a cup or not, you can just let that be, but this is to help those that are not really busty like that. It will also help you to, you know, look busty. Okay, all right, so I'm attaching this with pin. First of all, I just sewed 1/2 inch by the down part in order to give it more fullness. Okay, so this is just totally optional. I'm attaching this with pin. I'm attaching the bra cuffs with pin, and then make sure that your pin doesn't penetrate to the other side so that you'll be able to still turn your stuff. Okay, so now that I'm done, the next thing I'm going to do is to turn it, and I'm going to iron, like iron. All right, I was not able to film the process of adding the eyelet and then adding the boning. Okay, so when I was done ironing, I sewed 1/2 inch by the end, before the place before the eyelet. I sewed 1/2 inch, and then I inserted plastic boning. That's all I did. So I used just 1 inch and inserted plastic boning, and then I closed up that side I used to insert the boning with needle and thread. That's all I did. Okay, so bear with me, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Do give it a thumbs up and recreate yours. Let me see what it looks like.